Folks, so many things have happened while we've been gone. Unfortunately, we were away due to illness. Zena wasn't doing very well. I was working a lot, so unfortunately, this is where we were. Mm-hmm. But a bunch of stuff happened, and it's gross. So let's just go through it, and we're gonna do a quick run by of some of the stuff that we missed while we were gone, such as 1. This just happened. GOP votes to withdraw from presidential debates because apparently they hate debating because they have no real policies. They did this after President Trump, if I remember correctly, claimed that that this was not impartial and that these were, incredibly biased. His typical nonsense of claiming that anyone that has a mild critique for him is by definition part of fake news. We also have GOP forced to amend bill that would have had legalized child marriage in Tennessee. The very party that claims to be concerned about protecting children, that's accused enemies of being literal pedophiles, wrote a bill that apparently would have allowed children to get married, says Chris Hayes. True. Basically, Tennessee wrote a bill that created its Marriage 2 Electric Boogaloo, where Marriage 2 would have let you get married, but it wouldn't allow the gay married, is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, the rule, the law, had literally no age minimum. Remember, any comment that a conservative makes to you is by definition projection. It is them disowning parts of themselves, and it is them then putting it onto you. They will call LGBT people pedophiles and groomers because they feel the need to believe that we're doing something bad by talking about transness and gay people. Because in their minds, that's degeneracy and is immediately associated with sex. But this is the same party and their same voters that are fine with having people in power who actively want to children. They want to marry young girls because that's how you actually groom. Older men dating younger girls, right? The Mormons did this. This was very much their jam, right? But this is true of a lot of very conservative religious groups. Their belief is that wasn't the name of the guy from the Mormons Brigham Young? Just saying. The point being is that If you look at this, you understand what their goal is. They want the ability to groom girls. You hear this talked about in incel circles, right? The GOP doesn't care about women's sports. They care about hurting trans girls. They want trans teens to die. That's what they want. They don't care about, those sports. I mean, Utah had one trans girl in sports, and they had to push a bill and actually go past the frickin' governor who did one based thing in his life. Wasn't there that one conservative? I don't know if anyone has the story on that, but there was the one conservative who is now married to the girl he oversaw during 4-H. Let's be really clear. This is disgusting. Do not ever be affected by conservatives when they call you a groomer or whatever. Block them and move on. Because the reality is these people are projecting, every one of them. Lauren Boebert, literally her husband got his penis out in front of underage girls at a bowling alley, if memory serves. Matt Gaetz thinks he's protecting kids from the transes. Matt Gaetz is actively still being pursued by the fucking Justice Department. Yeah, John Rose is, I think, his name. Keita, I think you're correct. So here's the issue. These people are under some sort of pathology. I've made this argument a long time ago, and I'm going to bring it back when I find some researchers. The reality always is the same. Conservatism is pathological. It leads to fascism. Yes, it is projecting. By definition, Freddie, it is projecting. Let's go on. Other things that happened. Tennessee GOP back in March killed bill to ban child marriage. That feels related to the other one. Do remember that child marriage is still legal in many, many states. Why? Because, again, this is how grooming works. Conservatives really get into this shit because what it is that, and you'll hear this in incels, as I mentioned before, if you get someone when they are young, you can keep them from having experiences to where they would have discernment about what they would want. Older conservative men do not want thinking, feeling, meaningfully informed young women or women. They want young girls who they can mold into sex dolls. This is just a thing they want to do. Again, basically what has happened in the Family Action Council wants to continue to let 13-year-olds get married in the state for the sake of their court case against same-sex couples, which is what led to the other thing. Next, 200 anti-LGBT bills and counting. GOP's war on trans kids continues. According to tallies released by the American Civil Liberties Union and Freedom for All Americans, right? Dozens of states are considering, they're okay. Excuse me. I don't want to besmirch Freedom for All Americans. Apparently they're down. Dozens of states are considering more than 200 anti-LGBT bills this year, a historic attack on queer Americans before the midterm elections. Everything from these recently signed Don't Say Gay bill, which is now being copy-pasted to multiple states, to as much anti-trans legislation as possible, everything from trying to stop trans kids from ever having the necessary medical interventions they should have, to stopping this Mongol horde of trans girls from participating. Because let's be abundantly clear, none of these people ever talk about trans boys, because remember, the way that transphobia affects trans boys is by making them invisible. The way transphobia affects trans girls is by making them hypervisible and framing them as predators. Always. When they say that trans girls want to cheat at sports, what they're saying is they're acting predatorily or misogynistically, etc. We have Chase Stregio saying, Alabama now voting to make standard of care medicine a felony for trans adolescents. Unthinkable. And yet here we are. 3 states now having banned care, 2 blocked in court. We will see Alabama in court soon. The bills also fly in the face of the medical community. The American Academy of Pediatrics called Arkansas's efforts to limit health care to trans youth a dangerous attempt to politicize medicine that put politicians rather than pediatricians in charge. True. Again, the plurality of evidence is on our side, folks. Like, it just is. I don't want to keep covering these stories, but the reason we have to is because the simple fact of the matter is we've hit a level of representation and a level of visibility as trans people that now we are considered a very real threat. Before, we were simply a thing to be stomped under the boot heel of conservative ideology. Now, they had to go after trans women with bathrooms. That didn't work. They had to frame that trans boys were being targeted and are secret lesbians and they're having irreparable damage done to them. And that didn't work. So now they got to go after sports and they have to say that this is child abuse. Doesn't meet the terms of child abuse because, again, no one is doing this to the child as a force or harm. It doesn't meet any criteria, including CPS's definitions of physical, sexual, emotional, mental, or neglect-based abuse. It doesn't. It just doesn't. This is the GOP. This is our enemy. Not tankies. Yeah, tankies suck. Not the Jimmy Dore types who say that we can work with these people. Screw them. They don't matter. If your friends follow them, tell them you're not their friend anymore. Safety Dance called this tactic years ago. If your friends don't dance, if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine. In this case, if you follow the Jimmy Dore types who actively tout that we can somehow find commonality with these people, you're on crack.
Well, and they're not just following it to know how to actually combat this stuff, you know?
Yeah. It's because they themselves are conservatives. They are usually class reductionists. They usually want to throw trans people and children under the bus. They want to throw gay people under the bus again and again and again. The natural tendency of humans to want someone in control other than themselves so they don't have to worry about it comes up again and again and again. But we must rise above it. We must be the Chad self-aware being, not the virgin conservative. Right? But it goes on. Parents sue Massachusetts Public School District for violating their rights by keeping their 11-year-old child's genderqueer status and new pronouns a secret from them. Good. Good. I'm going to make this very clear for everybody. My and Zena's perspective on this is good. Mm-hmm. Parents can be abusive. Parents can be harmful. There's still a segment that we were planning on doing once everything is a little chiller called Dear Parents. And the way I think we're going to split that up is it's going to be a video with me and Zena at the beginning explaining that you have two paths before you. There is the path of how do you help your trans kid and do you truly love them? And the path of so you don't care about your child's life. Zena, I've decided, will probably do the part just now, because originally I was going to do it, but I think this is better. I think you should do the part where you offer supportive information and we should research it. And I think that would be great. And then I'll do the part where I talk about how people are being child abusers and being awful. No person should be forced to ever out a kid ever to their parents. Full stop. This does nothing but harm. If those kids felt safe enough to actually come out to their parents, they would.
Yep.
But the parents are suing Massachusetts for violating their religious rights. Oh, no. What about the kids' rights? Oh, wait, kids are property. What about the school's rights to protect children from abusive religious evangelical parents? The problem being is there's an underlying thing here that we need to talk about, and it is the belief that parents have the right to control their kids. They have the right to direct their kids, help them make good decisions, hopefully make them good people. You are not the Lord dictator of them. When your kids are young, there's a great line in The Crow that says, "Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children." It's true. As far as your kid knows, you're a giant thing that can get angry and swat them or give them hugs. You are basically onto them a god.
Mm-hmm.
But you are not a god. You are not an owner of a child. They are not a puppy. You are not in somehow, they're not a thing to, by definition, use. You are not their master.
Spoiler, even your puppies have, wills of their own, by the way.
And fucking rights.
Yep.
We've talked about human rights before when we talked about innocent before proven guilty. Human rights are important to us on this channel. To me, this kid's human rights are being violated by the parents here. I don't care if this kid rolled out of this woman's vagina 30 times, like a fucking ball on a string. I don't care. It doesn't give her or her husband or anyone in their family to know this kid's identity if this kid doesn't feel safe. Full stop. Also, don't hit puppies either. Never hit a pup. Never hit anyone. Don't hit anything unless you absolutely have to. Maybe like cop in like Roblox. Maybe. If you can win. I don't know. But here's the thing, guys. Like, let's be clear. All of these stories point to the same thing. The evangelical, toxic, pathological, conservative mindset that exists in this country that leads to the Protestant belief of work equals a good person, that allows young girls to be married off, that forces an 11-year-old to be outed to their dumb fucking religious parents. This is all tied into the way in which conservatives are operating from a place of severe pathology. And it's one that comes hand in hand with a desire for power and religiosity. Libs will often call them, you know, the American Taliban or some other variation of great groups. But again, ISIS, Taliban, these groups have not been around forever. We had religious zealots. They happened during the Crusades. Look up the Children's Crusade. It was awful. The point being here is that, and I need people to understand this, is that when Zena and I look at this, we're horrified. Because what this comes down to is a fundamental misunderstanding of reality. We can argue with other lefties on all sorts of parts, all sorts of ideals. But at the end of the day, these are always going to be our enemies. Do you understand that? Do you guys get that? There's this thing in the left where we focus on each other and we have to constantly critique. And yeah, that draws in views. Drama's fun, whatever. But you should never forget that these people, no matter how clownish, no matter how stupid, no matter how demonstrably lying they are in the case of the Candace Owens and the Blair Whites, you still have to remember that at the end of the day, these are our political enemies. Conservatives are always the larger threat. Always.
And even if we think they're dumb or they're awful, there are still enough of them in power to actually accomplish shit.
The reality here is very simple. All of these stories point out that there is a sickness within our country, and I think a lot of countries. Human beings have gone through a very trials and tribulation type upbringing where we've gone through all sorts of crazy shit. And that leaves scars on a populace, leaves scars on a group, on a country. And because of that, you get these bizarre outcomes. The will for capitalism, the desire for power, for no other purpose than to have power, is at the heart of the conservative mindset. It is to enforce a world that does not exist. There are not just two genders. There are not just Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. There is not just good kids who grow up as good, healthy boys and girls. Sometimes they're genderqueer. Sometimes they're agender. Sometimes they're trans girls.
Or femboys, or trans masks.
True.
Or trans men. All of it.
The reality here is that the world is complicated, difficult. The conservative mindset, because it is so stressed out by the overwhelming disgust they hold towards most of humanity, by definition, leads them to want to enforce control on everything. This school did the right thing, hiding this from those parents. Because parents' power is not absolute. I don't care what I don't care what Sky Daddy you worship. There needs to be an understanding of not only how we deal with this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But also how to look for it in other search situations. I would argue, if you want to really poke at lefties, look at the lefties who aren't really lefties. Look at the people who are engaging in reactionary behavior. The Jason Hinkle, right? The fucking infrareds, hell, there is a well-known streamer who did an investigation that was full of lies and misinformation. That's a thing. Reactionary behavior exists and by definition is used by members of people who are ostensibly left-leaning.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't call it out because it's just, they're being, really No. Reactionary behavior exists on all sides of the spectrum. It's just part of things. And when we do this weird shit about, not pointing out when someone is being a reactionary, it's problematic. It doesn't make sense. These people are, by definition, sick. They are incredibly harmful. They do real harm. So, with that said, we talked about having positives. So let's look at a positive. If you want to help people, if you want to fight against these things in court, because that is the rules of the land, here are the 2 places that are doing it. See if they accept volunteers. See if they accept donations. If you have rich parents, see if they'll fucking donate. Tell them to see if you can just borrow $500. I don't know. Do you have a spare credit card? I don't know, something. First off, we have the ACLU. Now, the ACLU is, by definition, has taken some sides on things in the past that are not always things I agree with, but their heart's in the right place. And let's be very clear. They have been fighting hard for trans rights.
By and large, like, no, they really do handle a lot of stuff.
Are they a little annoying with their emails and some of their message notifications? Sure. But again, I highly recommend supporting places like the ACLU. Because they do back the things that really matter. In the case of, say, in the case of BLM, in the case of trans rights, this is how we fight this. We fight this through our rhetoric. We fight this through our attempts to call out this behavior when we see it. And we do it through organizations that will go in the courts and fight this shit.
Yep.
Until there is a time where we have enough of a groundswell of people to take other actions. I'm not against other actions. I'm only against them when I know I can't win. This is why I'm not anti-revolution, but I think revolution at this point is suicide. Another group, Lambda Legal.
Yes. Yep.
Making the case for equality. They're literally out here trying to get as much litigation going as possible. They are a nonprofit. They do they do fantastic work. And again, I highly recommend you go on this thing right here. We did it for our state, but you can go through here and look at select a state to learn more about the legal protections for LGBT people and their families. That's fucking cool.
By the way, these are great resources for whenever you need to know things about like what your rights, in a workplace are. Really good information. If you are dealing with discrimination, these are both 2 of the big organizations that I would send you to looking for help or direction or how to handle that kind of stuff. So,
right? So there's really good stuff here to look at. The other thing is to look for ways to support, if you're a person who likes donating, support the streamers who are speaking out about this and focus their eye on the prize. It's fine to get in drama. It's fine to call out people you see doing harm. But it should always come back to our actual goals.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of any anarchist, socialist, communist, or any other leftist should always be first and foremost to fight fascism. Conservatism is nothing more than the mask fascism wears. All of their ideologies, all of their goals, all of their policies fit Echo's ideals to the T. The hyperfixation of masculinity, the requirements for strength, the demonization of the feminine, newspeak. I mean, how often do dumb freaking like crypto bros be like, you have pronouns in your bio, so you can be ignored? First off, that's the stupidest fucking thing ever. But also, let's be super clear that like these people want to shut down intelligence. They want to get rid of things they don't want to understand.
So I've got one more way people can actually
please
do stuff. I'm gonna say this. Fucking vote. Please vote. Make sure you're registered. Make sure your friends are registered. All right? Bug your friends. Maybe forget to remind your conservative uncle, whatever. That's fine. But everyone else, no. Push people to vote. All right? If your friend's like, yeah, I don't know, I can't really make it. No, push them. All right? See what your state has for absentee ballots or what is needed to get them to a polling place, right? Those are big ones. Vote in local elections, right?
Get your grandma to vote on a more left-leaning side by offering to help her get rid of all the pop-ups and viruses on her Yahoo account.
Right? So And yeah, even if you are having to choose between two candidates that aren't your favorite, no, it's still worth your time to vote and choose for the one that is going to be doing the least amount of harm, okay?
Do you think I wanted Joe Biden? No.
Right?
Does Joe Biden surprise me in some cases? Yeah. No, he does some okay stuff.
But the thing is I know these organizations aren't always the most fun, but, find some friends and volunteer. You can volunteer at your community college to have a table, help get students registered. That's a lot of what we did for the Poli-Sci Club, right? We had envelopes and, and the forms all ready for people. We had all the addresses ready for people, so all they had to do was put a sticker on their envelope, and they could just shove it right in the mailbox that was like 2 feet from our table. Okay? That's how we did that. But voting is how we actually change who these people are, okay? And that's at least one easy, demonstrable thing that you can do in your personal life. All right? You have control over getting yourself voting, and you can also nudge other people. You can do that. Okay?
Sex workers offer a 10% discount on your wares if the person is willing to consider voting for the candidate of your choice. Excuse me.
Is that stuff legal?
Fuck if I know. In Minecraft, I don't know.
Find a legal way to do it, okay? Check your local
You're
laws.
not telling they have to. You just consider it. You put it out there. You say, hey, I mean, hell, if conservatives can say if you voted for Joe Biden, you're not allowed in our restaurant.
Also, if you do get some conservatives that, people that are also signing up to vote, are also getting encouraged to by this, it's okay. No, really, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Because here's the thing. When we get tons and tons of people to vote, more and more to vote, it actually helps our side. By number, like percentage-wise, it actually helps us, okay? All right? So don't let people get you down and tell you, like, voting doesn't matter. Fuck those people, all right?
I mean, let's be very clear. Joe Biden got into office day one and a bunch of my rights came back. If you ever tell me that, like, who you vote for doesn't matter, you are an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and, like, your school board people. All right? Who do you want on your school board? Okay?
Jessica Middle knows what's up.
So.
I mean, and then here's the other thing is that, like, I'm going to bring up something that happened recently, too. I can't show it on here because I might get copyright claimed. But apparently the based and epic John Oliver put out a new episode that we haven't had a chance to watch yet, where he apparently scammed the data of multiple people in the Washington area.
Washington, D.C.
And apparently is blackmailing them to change the info laws. Otherwise, he will release their data. One of the things he got them to click on was Ted Cruz Fanfic. Now, this is brilliant. I also think that in order to fight fascism, we need to get past this notion, maybe just a smidgen, of, oh, but they're just a lib. Shut the fuck up. I'm so done with this. I'm so done with this lib leftist fucking bullshit. This is just you people wanting a social group. Libs do suck. I agree. Because often people who tend to vote in ways that, don't actually help things like, female drone pilots, shit like that, aren't great. But you know what sucks even more? Is when you basically demonstrably harm, or at least to some degree denigrate a group of people who we could be pulling from for the left. And not to mention the fact that when we do it in this weird social way to sort of like for clout, pretend that we don't care about this stuff. John Oliver, I've heard many people argue this, is one of the closest things to an active leftist who's allowed on fucking television. The guy gives his finger to capitalism all of the time.
Yep.
The guy has basically like done everything he can short of just being like, I'm a full socialist. And then you hear people being like, well, he's just a lib. I don't care if he's a lib. I think he's done better spreading leftist messages than half the streamers out here.
That's true.
No, failure. We keep him. I'm sorry. You lost him. Sorry. You didn't realize, you didn't appreciate the value in that investment. Adopt a lib today. Based and true. So
also consider running for office. By the way, if you're an adult, like, there's a lot of Dems across the country who are trying to fund and help like people from local areas get elected right now, because they kind of really need to do that.
I mean, also, let's be clear.
Do it. Give it a try.
No, absolutely. Not to mention the fact that like things like city council, like you'd be surprised how easy it is to get into these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I seriously believe that we need to stop with this weird factioning and understand there are really only two factions. Us and conservatives. Right? Because there are some libs who will absolutely support us, and there are some libs who are just conservatives in all but name. We need to stop this. I normally would push for this like nuanced, like complicated fucking thing, and that exists when it needs to. But at the end of the day, these people want to hurt our kids.
Well, and the reality is that, like, no, they're in elected positions where we don't have a lot of options, right? Like, there's not a lot of options for nuance here. So it sucks, but here we are.
You want nuance? Start actually taking human positions. So here's my thought as we kind of finish this up, and Zena, obviously feel free to jump in.
Yeah.
We missed a lot, and I'm not going to go through all of it because I don't care to. My brain hurts just touching this stuff. But I need you to understand that there are lines that I cannot accept. And this may not be the channel for you if you disagree. There are things that I think are important. For example, I never want to sacrifice modernism for some kind of utopia. Fuck that shit. I never want to in any way forget who my real enemies are, who the real people are that do very real harm to black people, to trans people, to gay people, to Mexicans, to every single group that isn't part of their hegemonic garbage. The imperialism the United States engaged in wasn't just the United States. It was men in power who were often and almost always white dudes. Cishet white dudes. I'm sorry. Can we be honest here and stop with this weird shit? We know who the problem is. It's the Ted Cruzes. It's the fucking Mitch McConnells. Right? Like, I need you guys to understand this. And being that this kind of fits into this, I'm just going to add this little piece that was going to be a separate segment at the end here.
What do we got?
Last request for this segment. Just last thing. I hate the term culture war. I hate the term culture war bullshit. I hate it. Just call it what it is. Mr. Potato was a distraction. It's just Republican virtue signaling. Because the problem is that when people talk about culture war bullshit, they sometimes conflate the difference between Mr. Potato Head and trans kids. Do you see the difference? Culture war bullshit matters. But they keep doing this thing where they go, do you see the hand? Look, Mr. Potato Head has no gender. It's bad. Oh my God. Your kid has no rights. The term culture war bullshit, by definition, is not useful. It's not good. Call it what it is. Distraction politics. It's not them engaging in a culture war, because that's all they have. They have no policies. They're not trying to fix the country. They want to make money. And that's it. Make money and have power. That's all. It's distraction politics. That's it. They're trying to get you to look at the left hand so that the right hand can fuck over trans kids and trans women and fucking black people and anyone else they can. I don't trust motherfuckers that use that term. I swear to God. This idea that, like, these culture war things, like, we're supposed to just ignore them. Like, no. Call them out. This is why I like the streamers that I do. You go after every topic. I don't care how stupid it is. Because you don't give them any ground. You call out the things that are distractions, also while making fun of them and dunking on them. Ask Heffels for a ratio. And then proceed to then move on to the things they're actually doing. Rant over. I know that was a mess, but you guys get this? Does the point make sense? Can we focus? Can we actually work on attacking this? Because these people want to make a scary ass world.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
Get involved. Vote. Right? Get involved and vote.
Donate.
Donate, get involved, vote. Find ways, find things that you're passionate about, find stuff that matters to you to work on.
Push your parents, push your friends. Don't harass people, but easily go through and try to make arguments to get them. If people in your life are going to back monsters, guess what? Leave. If you can't, if you're not able to because of money or whatnot, start making plans to do so. If you're a trans person and you have to be around people that actively disagree with your existence, that actively go through the purposes of sort of denying who you are, wait till you have enough power, wait till you have enough money, and get the fuck out. I don't care if you have taken for what they're worth. You know what? If they're going to pay for college, great. Use that education to get a job, to get away from toxic parents.
Oh, and you know what else you can do at college? Get you and like 3 friends, whatever the minimum number for Jessica. A club is. And you know what? Start your LGBT club. Start your poli-sci club. Oh, and by the way, while you're in that club, go ahead and push your school to do better policies. Do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So get involved. Get out and vote. Get out and fucking like do this. We have to try to fight against this for 2022. If these people take more power, they will only ramp up this harm. And to deny them is culture war nonsense, to pretend that this isn't active pathology, to pretend this is somehow in any way what it is, but a push for further evangelical moralizing and harm is not doing us any help. Furcifer, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Your name is amazing. With that said,
thank you.
We love you guys.
Yep.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.
If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.